Our Bible reading for today is Deuteronomy chapter 14. This chapter is talking to the Israelites. For you are a people holy to the Lord, your God. Out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, the Lord has chosen you to be his treasured possession. As God's treasured possession, they should distinguish themselves from their neighbors by a singularity, number one, in the way they mourn. Do not cut yourselves or shave the front of your heads for the dead. Number two, in their meat, do not eat any detestable thing. These are the animals you may eat. Any animal that has a divided hoof and that chews the cud, such as the ox, the sheep, the goat, the deer, the gazelle, the roe deer, the wild goat, the ibex, the antelope, and the mountain sheep. However, of those that only chewing the cud or that only having a divided hoof, you may not eat such as the camel, the rabbit, or the hyrax, the pig. You are not to eat their meat or touch their carcasses. Also, of all the creatures living in the water, the birds and every creeping thing that can or cannot be eaten also are mentioned in this chapter. Number three, in their devotion unto God through their tithe giving. The chapter is talking about the second tithe principle in the Israelites' economy. In the book of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, we found there are three kinds of tithing. Tithe means 10% of the earnings or income. The first tithe is the general tithe, paid to the Levites to compensate them for their tabernacle services. This first 10% is only given solely to the Levites. The second 10% in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verses 22 to 27, is the worship tithe to be used for the celebration of convocations of worship at the sanctuary, where the worshippers eat together with the whole family members, inviting the Levites as well. The third 10% in Deuteronomy 14, verses 28 and 29, is the welfare tithe, stored up in the individual city to feed the Levites, the orphan, the widow, and the stranger who lived with the Israelites. This happened every 3 years. The application of this offering in our time is to support social and charity purposes, evangelism and ministries, religious education. Remember this thing. In giving out tithe and offerings, you cannot outgive the Lord. So be generous. Read Deuteronomy chapter 14 to get the complete picture.